Hello, welcome to today's video. We'll be looking at a very simple solution to what might be a complex problem for a lot of business analysts. And I've really surprised myself because this actually becomes a very simple solution and then it becomes repetitive going through it to flesh it out completely for what your environment needs. And so let's give you some background to what we're going to be working on, which is data views, and using Alteryx macros for that as opposed to using your RDBMS. Because I was presented with two problems here in the last week or so. One was where a analyst was trying to do a dynamic macro that would join two pieces of data together based upon what was stored in another file. So the file told you how to combine the two pieces of data, which attributes or fields or columns were in common that you would do the join with, and then it would join that data dynamically and return you the data set. That was a great problem and it was a fun solution, but it was a bit complex. At the same time, I had another analyst that asked what they should do when they have relational style data, but rather than being in an RDBMS, it is stored in files. What would I recommend that they do to alleviate the requirement to do those joins, especially if joins become complicated through having multiple tables? What would I recommend you do? And so I put those two together and I said, wow, you can just create a macro that would replace what you would do in a database as a view. Because the assumption obviously being that if you have the data locally, it's not a huge data set, so you don't mind letting Alteryx join it, because again, if you take the data off your local machine, Alteryx joining it within its workflow, it does it very fast because it's not waiting for the data sets to finish, it's processing it along the way. And so that's what we're going to look at today, is that rather than the complex auto configuration of how to join two tables together, let's look at how we would solve joining a data mart that includes multiple sources of data when the data does not reside in a database. And so, as you might guess, we're going to go into my Daisy Hill puppy farm, and we have talked in the past about this puppy performance data mart, and I might have alluded to one time when we actually used a view to join this data together, or we actually used the NDB structures to join this data together, etc. So let's take a look at this and see what I would do, since I have stored all this data locally on my machine in a couple of different formats, but we're going to use the YXDB format because it's the easiest one to use, most simple. I also noticed some errors in my data stores as I was going through it, but I did not correct those. I just let them float through because it gives you the ability to do the work that you need to do for these different data sets and do it in a macro. So this is my relational data mart. It is the puppy performance fact table. It has all these dimensions revolving around it. And when I want to report off of this entire set of data, then I have to do 6 table joins in order to get all of the data denormalized for my analytics that I'm using. So that solution that we're going to implement is exactly that. And let's bring up Alteryx very quickly. And you can see that what I have is my puppy performance fact table. I actually then join these in alphabetical order. You can join them any way you want to. You might have some more complex joining to go on, etc. But in this case, being a data mart with a fully dimensional model, I simply have the centralized fact table and all of the satellite dimensions, so I can just join them in. So all that I do then is I take each piece of data, starting with the puppy performance. I then join in the breed dimension, clean it up when I'm done, then join in the costume, clean it up when I'm done, and I repeat forward each of these different dimensions. Again, I could wait till the end to do one giant cleanup, but I did the cleanup along the way. And as you can see, they are all here. I do one final cleanup here at the end, making everything look just the way I want to return it. And then to turn this into a macro, all I had to do is go into the interface and drag down the macro output. So when I run this, you can see it just sort of flips right through there. It joins all that data together, giving me 7,000 records. When I do this, of course, I do it one at a time, test each one. I basically really want to check the left side of each of these joins to make sure that no data is inadvertently left behind. But since I do not have that problem coming through here, it was very clean, very simple. It was accurate data. It was well built data mart, if I say so myself. And then we simply return that data set in all of its glory to the user. So how do you use this? Very easy, because since it's doing all the work and all you do is post-processing, I create a new workflow. Again, I put all my macros up here on my category bar, and here are my views. Click on there, we have puppy performance fact. We drag it down here. We simply go back to favorites. I can do a select just to see what the data looks like. I can add in a filter because all I want to see, for example, I might just want to see all of the breeds. Let's just go ahead and run this through very quickly. We'll get an error. Let's look at some of these breeds down here. Let's look at Bulldog or Terrier. Terrier is pretty easy to spell, so we can just simply say basic query, breed name equals Terrier. Put a browse on the end of it just to see what the data looks like in the true side. Run this through. And now we have all the Terrier breeds performances that I can do post analytics on. Very clean, very simple, very fast. And again, what I would then do if it was in my organization, I would begin to create the denormalization macros for each of the physically stored tables. And again, you could also do this in the database. There's no reason why this can't be there, just in case you can't create the views and your DBA doesn't want to create them for you, or you have it on multiple databases. You can then go ahead and create a macro that rather than use the locally stored files, you can just intermix locally stored data along with multiple RDBMSs that are in different styles. But again, if we want to see puppy training, we just drop puppy training down here, making this simple. Go back to my favorites, stick a browse on the end of this. So now I've got two views that I'm using that have been already pre-created. And so as I go through this, I would slowly create more and more denormalizations. This one runs equally, but actually they both ran, if you notice how quick that was. So here is my puppy training fact. Drag this up so you can see it a little bit better. So that simply, now that I've created those, anytime I want to see puppy facts and do some post analytics on it, there it is, the returning of the data for the puppy training, and I have puppy performance. I want to join those together, do some kind of analytics between those two. I can just go ahead and plug that part of the workflow in. So this is a very simple process. If you have to go through it, you do not like having to do all those table joins every time you look at your data. Here's a perfect way to get your feet wet doing macros. It's a simple macro. It's simple to implement, and it will pay you back high dividends. So any questions about that, please drop it in the comments. Go ahead and subscribe. Let me know you're watching. Let me know you like these. And we will look forward to doing another video here in the very near future.